Hello, and welcome to the Profitable Fiction Author Podcast, a place where we discuss data driven book marketing networks. This is our second episode, and today we'll be discussing common marketing mistakes. Welcome back, JD and Julie.
Hey,
Thank
hey.
you. Happy to be doing our second one.
It's
I
exciting.
feel like if you get you do your first one and you do your second one, I think it's much more possible that you'll continue to do the third one. Does that make sense? Because I think a lot of people start podcasts and they just do one episode. I think our chances of staying consistent with this are going up just doing the second one.
I agree.
Yeah. And yeah, today we're talking about common marketing mistakes. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. So before we dig into the big marketing missteps, let's start with some expectations because unrealistic sales goals trip authors up right away.
Always.
Yeah.
When someone finishes the first book, what's a realistic number of sales to hope for? And why do so many authors overshoot it?
Yeah, I really like this question, mostly because I came up with it. But yeah, because a lot of authors, I've spoken to, gosh, I don't know, conservatively, well over 1,000 authors, like one on one. And I was having a call with someone just last week, and they asked a question that sparked this question, and the question was, because I like to talk about goals. I like to ask people about their goals. Like, what are your expectations? If you're looking back a year from now, like before they even work with us, because we want to make sure that's a proper match and we're able to deliver on their expectations, right? So I always ask, looking back for a year from now, imagine we're a year from now and we're looking back and we're proud of the progress that we made. What would have had to have happened for you to feel proud of the progress that we made? And a lot of people ask the question of I don't know, what's a good number of sales to actually aim for? And I think that's actually a fair question. So to even benchmark it, there's been studies out there that the average book across its lifetime sells 250 copies.
Yep.
Now, I think that's quite high because there's a lot of people, like people who are working with us and Julie, who bring that average up, right? So if you were to just launch your book and not tell anybody, maybe some family and friends, I would say that the average is probably closer to 20 books, like barely any. So that's sort of the bottom. If you just launch the book, even if the packaging, everything is perfect, you need to be able to do some sort of marketing, right? Advertising, price promotions, or whatever. So that's the baseline. Now, the cheeky answer to, hey, how many copies do I expect to sell is, well, how much money do you have? Right.
Yep.
So, because we have to pay, and this is where we'll get more into it. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much, but what a lot of people don't consider, they just look at how much I earn per book. They don't consider how much it will cost me to bring in each of those new readers. So, really, the expectation is, and people who have already launched their book and expected, build it and they will come, have already gone through that sort of pain point, right? To be like, oh, you know what? I actually have to market this. I have to get the word out. Maybe 15 years ago on Amazon, you could just launch it and they come. But in 2025 and beyond, that just isn't the case. So, I know it's sexy to look at okay, maybe I'll get 100,000 readers in the first year, or 10,000, or maybe 1,000. A lot of people do overshoot it, but what I really like to look at are the actual numbers of how things are performing. So it doesn't have to. We don't have to spend a ton of money to actually look at the initial numbers. So when I mean initial numbers, I'm like, okay, we have everything in place. How is the book resonating with people? So what are the reviews that are coming in? With our advertising, which we'll get more into, what are those initial numbers looking like? What is the click-through rate? What is the conversion rate? So those initial numbers start giving us some projections of okay, if we start scaling this up, what is it going to look like? If we add another book into it, what is it going to look like? So really just gathering that initial data. The number of readers is really just a result of looking at the data and scaling up and knowing what you're scaling, looking at what your numbers are. So I'll just stop there, and then Julie, I know you have some input in there as well. I've talked for a long time, so.
I mean, I agree with you completely that the number of books an author can expect to sell in the first year is directly tied to how much money they're willing to put out to obtain new readers. Because I think the number one sort of misconception new authors have is that you write a good book and people will read it. And that absolutely could not be further from the truth. Book sales is a business, and you can't, you wouldn't just make a bakery and put it on a back street and not advertise it and just expect people to eat your delicious bread, because they won't know it's there. So it doesn't matter how good your book is. Quality of book does not equal sales. And I do meet a lot of readers or writers who feel some initial resentment that they would have to pay somebody to read their book. It doesn't feel right. It feels like, okay, I've made this art. I don't want to have to put out a bunch of money to get readers, but whether that's what you want or not, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, for sure. And don't get us wrong, even that analogy of the bakery, right? Once you start getting people, you start getting that word of mouth.
Yeah.
Right. But you need to initially, and even to grow on the analogy, it would be like, okay, you're creating a bakery on a side street in a town that is only bakeries.
Right. Yes.
Right? Like, there's no houses, there's no banks, there's no movie theaters. It's only bakeries. Right. And you throw your initial spin on the bakery, but you need to be able to be like, hey, look at my bakery over here. Come check it out. And then we start getting, without getting too technical, but like a multiplier where you start getting increased exposure on Amazon. You start, Amazon algorithm starts pushing you, whether it be through Prime Days or through your categories or keywords, and word of mouth. Hey, hey, what are you reading? Hey, I'm reading Julie Titterington's book. Oh, how is it? Oh, it's really, really good. And let me pick it up. Right. So, I had croissant from Julie's Bakery. Oh, how is that? It's really good. Oh, I'm going to go check it out. But yeah, you need to get that initial thing, that initial engine going. So yeah, the realistic numbers, to go back to the actual question, realistic numbers, it is sort of like, hey, how much, it is figuring out, and this is what we do with our clients, right? We have sort of like that decision tree in our coaching program to be like, okay, this is what the expectations are. If you go this way or this way, and you only do this type of advertising or that type of advertising, to really set the expectations. But I feel bad because, like, I really wish I could tell people, I might be out of a job, but I really wish I could tell people, like, hey, build it, and like, you're going to get 10,000 readers in the first month. And it is possible, right? But I really, really wish I could. But sadly, it's not the case.
So it sounds like if an author is hoping to earn real income, that expectation needs an even firmer reality check.
Yes.
So if an author wants writing to pay some bills, what kind of timeline and how many books should they actually plan for?
Do you want to start with this one, Julie?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of it depends on luck, first of all. Did you happen to hit that book that everyone was looking for right at that moment? Did you do your market research? Were you producing something you knew people would want to buy? And then did you get lucky? Did you get picked up by Amazon Prime Days? Or did another famous author share you in their book club? That just happened to me, which was great. But it's luck. That kind of thing is luck based. So in order to have more of a sure thing, you do need a lot of books. And I believe you need a lot of different series as well. One mistake people can fall into is they write a book and then they're like, okay, I know I need to have a lot of books in order to make a profit. I need 10, 15, 20 books. So I'm going to keep writing this series. here's book 1. I'm going to get to book 20. That's going to make my fortune. It will come. But the unfortunate reality is that you really can only advertise the first book. So if you keep yourself to one series, you are sort of stuck with that one first book of that series. Whereas if you can diversify and create sort of multiple series, you have multiple products to advertise. Going back to the bakery analogy, if you have a bakery that just sells bread, that just like one kind of bread, that bread better be the best gosh darn bread in the world, because otherwise people are going to go to another bakery that has like a variety of things. So my feeling is, for profitability, the surest bet is to have a lot of books, but also have some diversity there so that you have options and you can switch what you're advertising, and just have more of a smorgasbord for new readers to get into.
Yeah, I think those are some good points. I will fight back a little bit in terms of the luck. So I agree. So I've seen a one book be profitable, and I've seen people with 50 books and not earning a penny.
That's
So
fair.
the number of books isn't always now. Having more books, certainly, like if we're fishing, if we're all banking on catching the big fish with one worm, one drop in the lake, we might pull it up and we might get a crappy sunfish, right? And be like, damn it, it's full of bones, there's barely any meat on this, this is crappy. But if you have, 6 or 7 chances at it, then and then each chance you're getting even better, right? Oh, you're doing the worm this way, or like I'm adding 2 worms, or I'm adding one of those. I don't even know why I used a fishing analogy. I don't know. I haven't been fishing in like 20 years plus. Um, but I add like this shiny thing onto it, to increase the chances. Yeah. So usually the rule of thumb is that usually for profitability, we're looking at a 3-book series. That's usually the rule of thumb, but it's not always the case. Really, what we need to look at is the data, and really 2 data points. What is our cost per new reader, and what is our value per new reader? Those are the 2 biggest points that we want to look at. So the cost per new reader is how much are we paying for each new reader to come into our system, and then the value per reader is how much is each new reader worth to us.
Yeah.
So if we have one book, it's pretty simple. It's like, okay, if the book is $3.99, 70% of that minus the delivery fee is $2.97 or something like that, right? The delivery fee changes with every book, and then you get into other things like what percentage of like sales are for paperback, what percentage of sales are through Kindle Unlimited, and there's this whole equation that we work through with people who are working with us. But that is our value per reader. But when we add on to a series, the benefit of a series, if a series is performing well, is, hey, we already paid for that one person to come in to buy book 1 in the series.
Yeah.
And we didn't pay anything for them to go on to book 2 in the series. So that's why a series is so good, where our cost per new reader stays static, but our value per new reader goes up. But that's what we're always looking at. And like you said there, Julie, selling books is a business. If you're trying to sell something online, you are doing a business, right? You're in the field of commerce, right? You're trying to sell something online. So knowing the numbers, what is our cost per new reader, and how much does each reader, what is the value to us? And we get a lot more into that, and we'll probably get into that like in other sessions as well, into like other factors that increase the value per new reader. But I like what you said, Julie, in terms of multiple series, because we had one client, and Julie, I know your experience was like this as well. One client had 3 or 4 different series in the fantasy space, and one of the series was like not good at all. Like we tried advertising it, the cost per new reader was just way too high. It just wasn't resonating with readers. But he had the good thing is that he had other series. and we doubled down on one of the one that was best performing, and he got read through from that one series to all the other series
Yeah.
as well. So that is what can work really, really well. But yeah, the whole luck thing. Um, I agree in a sense. I don't like to always leave it up to luck. You can have that one book that just sort of catches on, and you have some sort of story behind it, or some sort of movement behind it, or like what I said in the first episode, maybe timing it like with a movie release or something that can sort of take off. You can catch something. That's much riskier than the longer period of time to write. Like, hey, I'm going to write 10 books or like 20 books, right? That's a much like more for sure bet. But the whole luck thing, I like to say like we just create our own luck. Like who just said that? Billy Zane in Titanic.
Billy Zane and Titanic.
Yeah, yeah, a man creates his own luck. But in a sense, you can. Like it's. I don't always like to believe on luck. I'm sure there's some other sexy sayings to go with it as well. But you just get better and better with each book, and then that's
Yeah.
what we advise people on is like, okay, this is the scorecard for this series. And like I said previous in the first episode that we did was really what we need to do is like if we want it to be commercial, we need to look at the end in mind, right? Like who is this book for? Like we can't just, and it can work, but like okay, I have a story. If you start at the very beginning, like hey, I have a story that I want to tell, and that's fine. It might line up with the end in mind as well, but really it's like starting with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm just going to stop there because I keep going on and on and on about it, but I'll just stop right there.
Yeah. I love both of those perspectives. Thank you both for sharing. So, another huge source of frustration is assuming readers will magically get your book no matter the genre signals. How do you figure out if your book really fits the genre that you're aiming for?
Yeah, I could start with this one, Julie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the books who do best that I've seen uh, know, again, starting with the end in mind, like know exactly who their reader is. Like, hey, this is a cozy mystery, right?
Right.
This
Yes.
is a romance. This is a hard sci-fi. And then they just double down on that. Where I find they perform the worst is, hey, you know what? My book is like sort of like sci-fi, but it also has like romance, and it also has some mystery, and it also has some amateur sleuth, and it also has this, and it's like, oh my goodness. So we can have like the main category. That's why I tell people it's like find one category and double down on that, because a confused buyer is a buyer that will just go on to the next book,
Absolutely.
right? They're like, I don't really know what this book is even about. I'm just going to go on to the next one. So really, if it does have all those elements, which is totally fair, we just need to pick the element that it's the most. Which category, what type of reader are we picking who it's going to attract the most? And then doubling down on that. So how do you figure out if your book really fits the genre you're aiming for? In a tactical sense, the best way to do it is via Amazon ads, category ads.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it, is picking the categories that the book you feel like your book you want to really target. And it's not a perfect science, but we can get more into that in the diagnose and problem section in a minute. But that really is the best way to start getting that initial data to be like, hey, how well is this book resonating with this type of audience? And the other one is, which is a lot longer of a play, is how are the reviews coming in
Yeah.
for those readers? But that's longer because not every, a small percentage of people will actually leave a review. And it's always funny, like authors are like, oh, us as authors, like we're always like, oh, I wish people left more reviews, but it's just the review rate is low, and I don't get too distracted. And then I ask the author sometimes, when's the last time you left a review on something you bought on Amazon? And it's like, for me, I barely leave reviews, right? Like I got it, I'm happy with it, I'm just gonna move on, right? It really is like people who leave reviews are usually like people who are really emotional about it. emotionally good or emotionally bad about it. But yeah, Julie, I don't know if you have anything to add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with you that that it very much comes down to, do you know who this book is for? Because if you don't, well, for example, my first series, I write cozy mysteries. My first series is a mystery series, but I didn't think too much about what's the difference between a mystery and a cozy mystery. What's the difference between a cozy mystery and like a paranormal cozy mystery? There are so many subgenres, and this applies to all books on Amazon. There's so many little niche areas where people there are tropes that they recognize, and types of covers that they recognize, types of stories that they recognize. And if you are just telling a story and you haven't thought at all about who's this for in the end, because it can be for you, and if it's just for you, it's just for you. But I know JD and I are always cringe when someone comes to us and says, I have written this book and it's like nothing anyone has ever seen before. It's like genre bending, and every time I'm like, oh well, no one's gonna read it then, because people typically like to buy things they already know they will like. That's what gets them through the friction of, this is a new author, this is a new book, can I risk my money on this person? And usually the answer is, I recognize what they're doing, it looks like something I already like the taste of, I'm gonna try this out. So I didn't do that with my first series, which is why I can't sell it still to save my life. But that was painful. So I learned from that. Specifically in my instance, it was, what kind of cozy mysteries sell? And I was like, dogs and bakeries, and I'm going to write one with a dog and a bakery. Like, I'm just going to double down as hard as possible on these tropes, and I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to make it my own, but I'm using these tropes. And that book took off. And largely because just that's what people want to read. So going to the figuring out what your genre is and then really, really doubling down on the tropes in your marketing, I think is the smartest thing to do. Making sure people know what they're going to get when they spend money on your book.
100%. Yeah. And the whole genre bending, it's tough to do as your very first book.
Yes.
Right. Like using that example of that one client we're coaching, his was also, sort of not hitting the tropes quite right for fantasy. And it's not like the book, even if it's genre bending, it's not like it's forever, like no one's ever going to read it. It just means that we just might have to slightly switch the direction.
Yep.
Right. And once we gain that trust of the readers, that know, like, trust, and they're like, hey, I read some other stuff of his, I'm going to take a chance on this. Right. Then it's in a lot better of a position to be able to sell it and hit those genre bending. Do something funky.
Yes.
Once you're in that position. Yeah.
Agreed. Absolutely. Even with the right genre, though, packaging can kill momentum before a reader clicks buy. Covers, blurbs, pricing. What's the quickest way to tell if those are turning readers off before they even sample the story?
Way to tell if those turning readers off before they sample the story. Yeah, I mean, just going back to the Amazon ads, right?
Amazon
Looking
ads.
at Amazon product category targeting specifically. You can throw like a bunch of money at it through like other types of advertising and so on, but the numbers aren't really going to tell you anything. It'll just be like, oh, nothing's working, or like the numbers are like the cost per new reader is just far, far, far too high. But Amazon ads really is good for diagnosing, and specifically looking at those product category ads, and then looking at the CTR. The CTR is the click-through rate. So how many people have seen your book versus how many people have clicked on your book. Now, again, it's not like a perfect science, but generally those who do best in the Amazon category ads will do best in other type of advertising and type of promotion. And it really is like looking at those numbers and asking us, well, first of all, not being like, oh, it's a failure, but just looking at the numbers as like a scientist, right? What are the numbers telling us, and what can we adjust? So the CTR, or click-through rate, if that's doing poorly, then it usually leads to our cover. And then if we're getting a lot of clicks but nobody is buying, it usually is the blurb or look inside. I would say in a lot of cases, the cover is fairly easy to change. When sometimes people are like, oh, the cover, like I spent $2,000 on the cover, or in one case, someone spent $10,000 on a cover, and it didn't resonate. It didn't even like match the genre that we were targeting. Some people are thinking like, oh, I got to change the cover, then another $2,000. And that's not always the case. You can get some quality covers for $1,500 or $300 or whatever, and we advise people on what places we recommend. But the cover, that's sort of like, hey, how's our current cover doing? Okay, we might need to make some tweaks through a great cover showdown exercise that we do with our coaching clients. But the blurb is the biggest factor whether or not someone will pick up the book or not. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, the blurb is free to change, and you can change it unlimited number of times. So yeah, I'll just stop there.
I have no extra thoughts. All of that is right. I mean, if you think about it, the category ads, your book, your little thumbnail of your book is going to be displayed in a line with, 100 other books that are targeting that specific category. And if people aren't clicking it, it's because it doesn't look as good as the other books that are all lined up in that row. It means they compared it to the other books in that genre and thought, this doesn't look like what I'm looking for. So it is a really, really good indicator of if your cover's hitting correctly.
For sure. And that even goes back to what we talked about there, reader alignment.
Yeah.
Right? It's just knowing who our reader is. Because we're paying for each click, right? We're paying for somebody to click through to that. And we want the most, say, qualified people to actually click it, right? We want to capture as many people as possible who click it to actually go on to consume our book. And not just this one book, everything we have available, whether it be in that series or outside of that series. So we really, really want to set the right expectations. And when someone looks at the cover, I'm sure we'll have other sort of podcasts dedicated to maybe a cover. You really want someone to look at it, and people's attention spans are very, very short online, right? We have I'm sure there's studies done, like seconds, milliseconds, maybe, for somebody to look at the cover and initially know like what genre it is, and set expectations type of genre and the quality of the book as well.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. Thank you both for sharing. I'd like to incorporate a lightning round now. Some quick off the cuff answers. We're going to dive right in. First question.
Hang on. Sorry, the lightning round. Should we give it it has to be like 3 words or less, 3 words or fewer, or a certain time period? What do you think? How about 10 seconds?
10 seconds each, yes.
10 seconds. So, Kelly, you ask the question and then look at the timer for 10 seconds and then just cut the other person off. Like this is just cut them off.
Okay. And who's going to start? Should I put you on the hot seat first, Katie?
Sure. Yeah, it was my idea. So let's do it.
Okay. Are we going to do question and then both of us answer? Or are we going to do one person does all the questions and then the next person does all the questions?
Or should we go back and forth with them?
I think we should go back and forth.
Yeah, because the other person will have much more time to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll go first. I'll do it. And then cut me off after 10 seconds. Cutting
you off and you're in the hot seat officially. What would you say is the biggest waste of money you see authors make? JD, 10 seconds.
On the theme of this, not having their reader alignment properly and just throwing more bad money at it and not stepping back and taking a look at okay, what is wrong with this? What can I change?
And
Right on the nose. Julie, you're up.
I think that was good. That was good. Okay. We
um,
need like an audible thing.
yeah.
Okay.
Like a ding.
Yeah.
I would say
Oh, no.
just.
You get the next question. That question's
Oh, I get the
answered.
next question. I don't have to answer the same one.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Because you
Gotcha.
have more time to think about it.
That's
Right?
true.
All right.
Okay, Julie, you're on the hot seat now. 10 seconds. What's worse, no plan or too many plans?
No plan.
Great answer. Less than 10. We love it.
Come on. That was easy. That was gold, too. I don't know if we're doing swearing on this, but.
JD, what's one expectation that drives you nuts? 10
Okay.
seconds.
I get way harder questions. Expectation that drives you nuts. Um, Instant profitability off of book one, not understanding that they have to pay for each new reader to come in. They're just looking at like, okay, how much do I earn? But they're not looking at the other side of things as well.
Perfect. Julie, what is one thing authors obsess over that doesn't matter?
Oh my gosh, this one's hard. I'd say social media. Yeah, having a author brand and doing all the social media stuff doesn't matter.
I love it. You
Those
folks
read it.
did it.
Yep. Oh no, come on, give us some more. A few more.
Yeah. Going wide or going KU, JD?
Going KU. I don't like going wide. Not that I have any allegiance to Amazon. If there was some other place, I'd be happy to do it. But I've just seen both ways of doing it, and going KU is just so much easier.
Makes so much sense. So, Julie, I asked you what doesn't matter. Second question follow up here is one thing authors ignore that really does matter.
Ooh. Well, I think it goes back to, I'm gonna not get this in 10 seconds, but just writing a story that they like and not thinking about what genre it falls into before they put all the work into
10 seconds.
writing a book.
JD, pretty website or great email list?
Oh, this one's easy. I got a layup on this one. I could just talk for like 8 seconds. Doo-ba-doo. Email list.
Yes.
100%.
Julie, more followers, more reviews.
Reviews.
That's
JD,
so easy.
spending on swag or spending on blurbs?
Oh, blurbs 100%, but you don't really need to spend on blurbs. So the question itself, I reject.
Great point. Julie, boosted post or targeted campaign?
Targeted campaign. Boosted posts are garbage.
Perfect answer. JD, wrapping it up, or obsessing over launch day or playing the long game?
Oh, come on. These are like layups. Playing the long game 100%. Like there's a certain launch procedure that we do to help us set up for the long game. But yeah, long game, like the launch is fun and sexy and exciting. I remember launching my very first book, and it was so exciting. I was jumping up and down. But yeah, 100% playing the long game. And I took a little bit longer than 10 seconds on that one.
Thank you so much. This was perfect. It lines up with everything that we've discussed thus far, and I feel like we've got some great answers here.
I think it was a good session.
Yeah.
And yeah, if anyone wants to suggest podcast ideas to us, you can just email us at hello@weekendpublisher. Or if you have any other follow-up questions on what we said, we could probably expand on it on subsequent podcasts. But yeah, our plan right now is to release one podcast a week for at least the next year. So strap in. There's much more to come. Probably get tired of talking about this type of stuff. We'll bring on guests and so on. But yeah, looking forward to the next one. I think this was great.
Thank you, JD. Thank you, Julie. See you next week.
Bye.
See ya.